I saw some discussion recently about whether the correct advice to beginner artists was to tell them to draw every day versus draw whenever you feel like it. I think this is a very interesting but highly nuanced topic that's going to look differently for everyone, and I'd like to lay out my thoughts and experience as someone who's been drawing seriously for about 12 or so years. I'll be swapping my language a bit from here on out, and I'll be designating the term dedicated practice to what we define as drawing every day, and passive practice with drawing whenever you feel like it. This is so that my points become clearer and less wordy. Think of them as interchangeable. Before I begin, I'd like to put up a big old thing I'm gonna call a nuance disclaimer. I'll be discussing my experience with the different types of practices, and I'll avoid making prescriptive statements on how practice should look like for anyone. I can only speak for myself, and even making generalized statements like drawing every day with intention to improve often means you'll improve faster than someone who drew every day without that intention. And it may have some people refute that generalization as it doesn't match up with their experience. Also, just to make sure there's no unfair comparisons here, as I mentioned earlier, I've been drawing seriously for about 12 years. It's been a really long time since I was a beginner. That doesn't mean what I'm saying won't apply to a beginner, but I'll be showing examples in my later years rather than my earlier. I'll try to get some earlier ones if I can. This is mostly actually due to the fact that I drew traditionally for the first major 5 years or so, and I don't have access to my super beginner works. All that being said, ultimately the idea is to share my experience so that people can make informed decisions on what works best for them. Dedicated practice, or drawing every day, looks about what you'd expect it to. Drawing is a part of your daily routine, much like brushing your teeth and eating dinner. It's something that you consciously decide to do, much like going to work each day. For many, including myself, drawing every day is something that requires a great amount of dedication and commitment. Typically, this is a result of higher amounts of free time, but it can also be affected by the amount of competition in one's downtime. But for some people, practicing art every day is something that comes quite naturally to them and requires little work. They want to draw every day and are naturally inclined to do so. For this type of artist, I've created an offshoot of dedicated practice and called it natural dedicated practice. I've personally done both dedicated practice and its offshoot of natural dedicated practice. When I first started taking art seriously at about 12 years old, I drew every day because I had the time and willingness to do so. I only drew what I wanted to draw, which was usually ponies. I didn't improve significantly as a result though, because all I was doing was drawing ponies, and I spent the better part of 3 to 4 years exclusively doing that. I had a lot of fundamentals to catch up on almost 5 years into being an artist as a result. In my third semester of my 3D program, I was about 21 years old here. We were assigned an all-semester task of daily drawing. We had to draw for a minimum of a few minutes a day for every day of the week and submit each day's drawing into a weekly bundle. I took on the challenge and created a schedule for myself to follow, where I dedicated each day to a specific intended study practice. For example, on Monday I did a facial structure study, on Tuesday I studied another artist's style, on Wednesday I studied anatomy, and so on. My improvement was noticeable, and my competency in anatomical understanding especially grew. I was able to lay out all of my daily drawings in order, and in about 10 weeks or so, my work had improved significantly, much faster than it ever had before. From then forward, I developed the habit and routine of drawing every day, but I stopped following a weekly plan, and I simply drew what interested me. I continued to improve, and I felt that my pace was generally similar as it was before. So the difference here is that sometimes I draw every day with the intention of improving by setting study criteria, and sometimes I just drew every day for fun. Both of these are valid approaches to improvement, but I objectively improved at a faster pace when I gave myself specific goals and study criteria when I was drawing. I strongly believe that every minute you spend drawing is progress, but not all drawing sessions are measured equally. Often, we're told that in order to master a skill, we must put in 10,000 hours of practice, but this isn't inherently true. However, that difference often feels negligible. As a foil to dedicated practice, passive practice is passive. Basically, just drawing whenever you feel like it. Currently, this is where me and my art stand, and will continue to do so for the foreseeable future. This is a comfortable position for me, and I'm really happy with this decision. For me, I always have multiple creative endeavors going on, so I'm unreliant on drawing as my only creative output. If the expectation of dedicated everyday practice feels stifling, or it's as hard to do as it is for me, then I got one really sick tip, and that's surrounding yourself with inspiration, whatever inspires you. I get super inspired from other people's work, so I love having my timeline and my Pinterest feed full of the art I like. It really does truly make me want to draw. That way, I'm not pressured to draw every day, but I'm fostering the conditions that will make me more likely to want to draw. Despite my much smaller catalogs of drawings, I still continue to improve, and that's because I believe improvement is not dictated by one single input. We often assume time spent drawing is a major factor in improvement, and while this isn't wrong, we also only mistake it as the only factor. Spending time honing other creative skills, engaging and absorbing with other people's creative work, broadening your visual library, and making connections, all of these things can and will lead to improvement as well. So while I might not be drawing every day, I'm still doing a variety of those side quests, ultimately bringing it all together when I finally do get to sit down and draw. And as someone who's relegated drawing to a hobby, I'm really happy with this outcome. So we're finally at the end, and you're probably asking yourself, which one is best for me? And my answer is that it really depends. The ultimate idea here is that no matter which method of improvement you decide to go with or you end up doing, it will always lead to improvement. But that improvement will look different depending on your input. While I can share what's worked best for me, my goals, and my situation, deciding the right path for you is something that only you can do. I make my smoothies with whatever fruit, thickener, and liquid feels right for me. And for you, that's gonna look different. But at the end of the day, we're all gonna get a smoothie out of it.